Hello Logic language learners. So I'm sorry I haven't been around for a few weeks. I've been very busy because, as you know, or some of you may know, now particularly in the UK, in Great Britain, in England, Wales and Scotland, we have public exams. So I have been obviously getting a lot of people ready for public exams. So this is why I have decided to do this video on things you can do, or things you can encourage your kids to do if you're helping someone train, things you can do for a better result in your oral exam. Okay, so that would be something that you can do for GCSE, for A-level, for the DELF, for degree, to a certain degree, or just general speaking, because this is obviously something that is going to give you a better control of conversations in French with French people. Okay, so I'm going to go through the list. Can I also stress, if you like the video, can you please click like? Can you also subscribe if you haven't before? And can you also please bear in mind that at the moment I have a reduced teaching rate on Skype for anybody who has a GCSE or an A-level or a degree final coming up. But this is more of a GCSE A-level video. So, first things first with our oral exam. When we get tense, we do strange things with our voice and we make the sound come from here. And all of you know, particularly those of you who've done the videos with me before, French does not work in little blocks like this. Oui, nous allons parler comme ça, donc il faut parler doucement, avec l'air. We need to speak slowly, softly, with the air. So first things first is just make sure that you keep yourself nice and calm. I know that sounds more difficult. It sounds an obvious thing to say, but keep your air coming, because if you just come out with sounds, even if the word you're using is correct, then you are going to confuse the teacher, because even the best teacher who already knows your voice, or it might be an independent examiner, it might be somebody you've never met before, they are not going to do very well understanding you if you go My next point, if you're getting nervous, so I'm going to write these down. So first one is voice. Okay, so we need smooth, and I'm going to say speed. If you get nervous and it's French that you know, you are going to race. Be very careful. Examiners do a very good job on the whole, but they are obviously going to match you because they are obviously used to speaking to people. So if there's a bit you know and you absolutely race through it, you are going to speed them up. Okay? You are going to speed them up, which then means when they come back at you with French that you might not know, you are going to be in a bit of trouble. So try and keep the pace, accelerate obviously where you want to, but try and keep the pace something you can understand, because otherwise the examiner will go, great, this person's fantastic, and it might be you are a better speaker than a listener. Okay, so I will come back to more voice things later on. The next thing is a pretty obvious thing to say, but it is amazing how many people forget it. Okay, if I ask you a question, listen to how we respond to the question. Where do you live? London. How old are you? 39. Do you have any brothers or sisters? 3 brothers. Okay? What do you want to do tonight? Cinema. Often in normal conversation we don't repeat the whole question, we don't repeat the verbal information. So let's listen to this again with the verbs. Where do you live? I live in London. How old are you? I'm 39. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Yes, I've got 3 brothers. What do you want to do this evening? I want to go to the cinema. So the first thing to remember is use verbs in answer. Now, this is a very obvious point that if you're doing GCSE, you are more likely to get this kind of question. Clearly, if you're doing A-level or degree material, which we will come on to, you're obliged to give full sentences. But those of you that are doing GCSE, okay, if you have, you know, où est-ce que tu habites? Yeah? Where do I live? Where do you live? Londres, London. J'habite à Londres. Okay, so we go full verb. Which brings us on to the next point, which is copy and paste. Now, examiners want to hear you do well. They are not trying to catch you out, unless you've really annoyed your French teacher, and I can't comment on that. They want you to do well. So what I want you to do is to try and use as much of the information they give you as possible. And this comes down to two things. This comes down to tense and vocab. So let's look at tense. People panic about tenses, okay? You've watched my videos, I hope. You should understand what we're doing, whether we're going between the was tense or the action tense, okay? But ultimately, you are going to copy the tense of the question the person is using when talking to you. So for example, let's look again in English. What did you do yesterday? I went to the shop. We had a past question, I use a past question. What are you going to do tomorrow? Yeah, I am going to do this. What will you do if the post doesn't come? I will complain. Okay? Same in French. Qu'est-ce que tu as fait hier? J'ai mangé avec mon ami Arthur. Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire demain? What are you going to do tomorrow? Je vais faire ça. What will you do? Qu'est-ce que tu feras? Je demanderai, I will ask. So you match the tense. What had you eaten before seeing me? Qu'est-ce que tu avais mangé avant de me voir? J'avais mangé. So you can pretty much remember to match the tense. It's called tense tennis. This is a very, very, very obvious point. It's going to help you remember which tense you need to be in. So for example, if your question were, qu'est-ce que tu as fait hier? What did you do yesterday? As opposed to, qu'est-ce que tu faisais hier? What were you doing yesterday? So you think, hang on, tu as fait, I got 1, 2, 3, so I need to come back with 1, 2, 3. Qu'est-ce que tu faisais quand tu étais petit? What did you do when you were younger? We can't come back with I spoke, I did, you know, we've got to be coming back with the same tense. So next information, vocab. All in all, can I stress this, French teachers just want to hear you speaking. So if you repeat what someone has said to them, okay, we will come on to this again in a second. Repeat question. Okay, I will put that there. If you repeat the information someone has given to them, they're not going to notice or they're not going to care, or subconsciously people find it soothing. If people use the information back to you that you've just said, it's a kind of way of saying, yes, I agree with what you're saying. It's very subtle. But the point is, if you hear vocabulary in the question, try and use that vocabulary. It might be you'd forgotten the word. Okay? So if you had, for example, est-ce que tu as jamais fait du ski? Have you ever gone skiing? You think, oh yeah, that was skiing, wasn't it? So don't just say oui une fois, yes once. Say oui, j'ai fait du ski. Yes, I went skiing. Est-ce que tu as jamais eu une opération? Have you ever had an operation? Ah, oui, j'ai eu une opération. I've had an operation. So you can use the same words. Now in English, we'd obviously say, have you ever been skiing? Yes, I've done it. Have you ever had an operation? Yes, I've had one. We will use a pronoun, and we will come on to pronouns, but the point is, now is not the time to do that if you're GCSE in the first response. Get in the vocabulary that you have just heard from them, because they will still go, this person's using correct vocabulary. So can I make that absolutely clear? If somebody says, what is your favourite meal? Quel est ton plat préféré? Okay, you are going to say, you're not just going to say, j'aime les frites, I like chips. You're going to say, quel est mon plat préféré? Which comes to my next point. Okay, repeat the question. It buys you time, it buys you thinking time, and you are giving them the vocabulary back. All we need to do is change you, your, to I and my. So where do you live will be where do I live? Yeah. What is your favourite food? What is my favourite food? Listen to this in English. What do you like to do on the weekend? What do I like to do on the weekend? Okay, same question, repeated it back, you've changed one word. You will only ever have to change you or your, I and my. Where do your family live? My family live in Wales, for example. Okay? This does two things. It buys you time. Okay, guys, it gives you a reason, it gives you time to think about what you're actually going to say. And it also gives the examiner French, you speaking French properly. Okay? Good. Next thing. Okay, lovely. So we're going to go with use what you know. Now, a GCSE generally, rather than A-level, where the specific topics, okay, although the same thing does happen at A-level, you need to be able to just speak in some fluid sentences and job done, okay? This isn't like when you have a prepared topic area specifically, but we're coming on to that in a second, okay? So if you have revised endlessly things to do with your pets or your dogs, okay, and you're all ready for the question, do you have any dogs? Do you have any cats? Do you have any, est-ce que vous avez des animaux domestiques? Est-ce que tu as les animaux domestiques? Do you have pets? And you think, oh no, he's just asked me what my hobby is. It isn't massively difficult to get it back onto what you want to talk about. So just think, oh crap, my hobby is kind of drawing, or my hobby is whatever. So just take it back to what you want to talk about. Think of questions and prepare questions that will introduce your favourite area to talk about. So for example, if somebody said to me, quels sont tes loisirs? What are your hobbies? Loisirs. Can we just check we know that word? The GCC, loisirs. Okay, L-O-I-S-I-R-S. You will come across it in centre de loisirs, like leisure centre. Okay, look at the L and the S and the R. It's like the word leisure. Okay, so if you heard quels sont tes loisirs, yeah, what are your hobbies? Or est-ce que tu fais du sport? Do you do any sport? And you think, oh crikey, I don't really know how to talk about my gymnastics or my swimming. So you can think, I'm all ready to talk about my dogs. So bring it back. I like to walk with my dogs. Okay, no, the examiner is not going to go, oh, but walking with dogs it's not really a sport, or walking with dogs, it's not really a hobby. They don't care, okay? So bring it back to that. Est-ce que tu fais du sport? Quels sont tes loisirs? What are your hobbies? Oh, j'aime marcher avec mes chiens. Yeah, j'aime me promener avec mes chiens. I like to go walking with my dogs. Yeah, then talk about your dogs, talk about what you know, or whatever it is you've prepared, okay? So if you were all ready to talk about your holiday, okay, and somebody said, what do you like to do on the weekend? Then bring it back to your holiday. If you were all ready to say, last year I went, to Madrid, or I went to Lanzarote and we did this in the sea, bring it back to this, okay? So if somebody said, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going for a walk. I'm going to swim. I love to swim. Last year I went to Lanzarote. We did this, and this. Bring it back. Qu'est-ce que tu aimes faire le week-end? J'adore nager. I love to swim. L'année dernière, last year, je suis allé à Lanzarote. I went to Lanzarote. Okay. Oh, great. So bring it back to what you know. Next thing. Bringing it back to what you know. What else did we have? I will come back to that one, I think. Oh yes, use what you know part 2 for A-level. So, using what you know is surprisingly about talking around the topic. So for example, if you were asked to talk about the Trump administration, Donald Trump, or you were asked to talk about modern politics, half of what you know about this is the sentence structure around this. So try and think in terms of vocabulary, in terms of opinion. This is really the main thing for A-level. And to be honest with you, like I said at the beginning of these videos, this is the main thing for